Welcome to a very special Friday episode of Hornets Daily, your one-stop shop for all things Charlotte Hornets. As always, we're presented by the good people over at FanArc, and I'm your host, Vance Ballard, but you already know you can call me VB. Want to thank everybody for joining us, watching along with us out there today. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment down in the comments section. Definitely want to hear you guys' thoughts on the schedule. What are some of the more interesting matchups? What's jumping off the paper at you guys? Always fun interacting with you guys down in the chat as we continue to build and grow this Hornets Daily family here on the program. Now, on the docket for today, as we know, the schedule has come out. It has been released. We'll talk about that today on the program. The Hornets get slighted with their national television schedule. Only 3 nationally televised games in the regular season for the Charlotte Hornets. I'll talk about those and that slight today on the program as well. I also want to dive a little deeper into the overall makeup or structure of the schedule in terms of the back-to-backs, the home games, the road games. I think it sets up favorably. I think it's a bit of an advantageous schedule structure for the Hornets. There is a couple things to nitpick at, but we'll talk about those on the program today as well. We're going to wrap the show up with some of the most exciting matchups, just looking over the schedule, what's jumping out at us, what are the most intriguing games going forward. We'll talk about that today to end the show as well. Now, you know I don't beat around the bush. That's not something we do here on Hornets Daily, and if there was ever a day for that to ring true, it is this one. We're going to dive headfirst right into the program. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. Time to start saving dates, time to start clearing schedules, time to start making plans to be at Hornets games. We have the schedule, all 82 games in front of us. We know when and where Charlotte will be playing. Now, just at first glance, there are some very interesting matchups early on in this season. The Hornets open the schedule at home on October 22nd against the Brooklyn Nets. Now, that one will be exciting just right now, specifically because it is opening night. The energy will be high. The buzz will be in the building. Fans will be making noise. This is the start of what is probably the most optimistic season that the Hornets have had in recent memory, definitely in a long time that I can remember. So the energy will be high on the 22nd on opening night. That won't be a problem. But if by chance, by small chance, any of these mock trades or rumors or hypotheticals that we have been discussing over the last month involving Nick Claxton and the Brooklyn Nets, if that comes to fruition, if that turns out to be more than just a rumor, then that throws a little bit more fuel on the fire for night one, as Nick Claxton would hypothetically be matching up with his former team. We'll have to wait and see if that comes to fruition. If not, it will just be opening night, which there will be no shortage of energy for that either. Now, I've got my eyes just at a first glance on Game 2 of the regular season. The Hornets will be traveling to Philly, and we'll see a battle of top 5 picks before we ever reach Halloween. Con Knipple and VJ Edgecombe will be going at it in that game, and that one I think is pretty interesting. That's a good start for Con Knipple. We'll see kind of how he's starting to fit into the NBA. And what he's projecting to do, what expectations we should give ourselves after just 2 games for the 4th overall pick this year. Now, I may be getting a little bit excited, probably going to have to temper some expectations, but it was schedule release day. Excitement is what you're supposed to have on that day. I think there's a real chance that the Hornets could move into the month of November with a 4-1 or even potentially a 5-0 record. Now, there is a game in those first 5 against the Magic that's a little tricky and could kind of go either way. But if the Hornets start out hot, start out right, then a 4-1, maybe 5-0 record could springboard them forwards into the month of November and into the entire regular season. There is a very good chance the Hornets get themselves off to a hot start here with the schedule, with the matchups that have been presented. Now, again, I said it earlier, going to have to temper these expectations, calm down a little bit, because we know there are 82 games on the schedule. Literally anything can take place, as we know all too well here in this Hornets fan base. Injuries can derail a season, can change plans for what you have, can really alter expectations. So we're going to have to temper those a little bit, not get too crazy, not get too high, too excited about what's coming for the regular season, as we do still have 2 months to analyze, talk about scenarios, talk ourselves into situations, wins, losses, things like that. Again, there's still 2 months for that to take place. But the Hornets do have some favorable matchups to start their season. There is no denying that at all. The most interesting part of this early run in the season, pre-November, these first 5 games really, is going to be Charles Lee and how he handles his rotations, how he gets his young guys on the floor, how he moves his core pieces around, and kind of plugs and plays and figures out who's going to be good together, what each rookie and their role is going to be, what the other young guys' role is going to be, how have they developed in their first 5 games of the regular season. Those will be some interesting things to watch going forward. Just see how Charles Lee kind of manages the situations in those first 5 games, which again could really propel the Hornets into a very, very interesting season if things go the right way in the month of October. Now, we spoke about it as well in the intro today. The Hornets gotten slighted yet again with their national TV schedule. Just 3 nationally televised games for the Hornets, and we have to wait exactly 2 months into the regular season before the Hornets' first nationally televised game comes all the way in December. December the 22nd in Cleveland will be the first time the Hornets play in on national TV. 2 out of the 3 of those games on national TV are going to be against the Cleveland Cavaliers. As a matter of fact, 2 of the 3 are going to be at home. 2 of the 3 are against Cleveland. 2 of the 3 are in Charlotte as well. They travel back to Cleveland for a home game, for a game against the Cavaliers that'll be on national TV, and then wrap up their national TV schedule with a day game against the San Antonio Spurs at home. Wemby comes to town. So just those 3 games. It's hard to say that the Hornets haven't really earned that few amount of TV games, but 3 feels relatively disrespectful in my mind. I think this team I know if LaMelo, there's always the chance he gets hurt, but if he's on the court, he deserves more than 3 appearances on national TV alone. Add in the addition of Con Knipple, the excitement of all the rest of the young guys, and I think that 3 is a little bit disrespectful for the Hornets. That does place them 25th in the NBA, only 5 teams trail with just 2 nationally televised games. So again, in the bottom of the barrel, again are the Hornets placed in another NBA category. This obviously isn't a statistic, but in a category, the Hornets get the bottom of the barrel yet again. I think that they could quickly make the NBA regret that decision if things go right again. If they start off 4-1 and continue to be better going into the month of November, December, and further into the season, then I think they have the ability to make the NBA regret not putting them on TV more. Now, this also, if you look at it positively, if you want to spin it positively, it might not be a bad thing that the Hornets aren't being broadcast nationally for a national audience to see every night in and night out. It will allow the rookies and the rest of the young guys, the Musas and the Tajan Salons, to kind of develop and come along quietly in the shadows, if you will, as they're not in the national spotlight night in and night out like the Warriors or the Thunder or the Lakers or other teams like that in the NBA. I mentioned those 3 because they're tied for first with 34 nationally televised games this season. So something for the Hornets to strive to is to try to get that number up and be a little bit more like those top franchises in the league. If health goes as planned, this team should be able to make a really strong case going forwards for way more than 3 nationally televised games, especially with the core pieces that we already have in Charlotte, the Brandon Millers, the LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, if he's still around. Those 3 guys, we know those are 3 names that are established in the NBA. We know LaMelo will put eyeballs on a screen. If they can all stay healthy, the rest of the team can develop and come along with their NBA game. I think that going forwards next year after that, things like that, the Hornets should easily earn themselves much more than 3 nationally televised games. But that's all we get this year, so take advantage of the big time, the spotlight when they can. That's what the Hornets are going to have to do. Play 2 strong games against Cleveland and a good matchup against San Antonio on national TV for the national audience to see and get some buzz, get the people talking, get on the radar is what the Hornets have a chance to do in those 3 games that are again on national TV. I think there's a very good chance they could do that, make that happen, and really make the NBA regret not putting them on TV more often. Now, we also said that we're going to talk a little bit about the overall makeup and the structure of the schedule for the Hornets, again, in terms of back-to-backs, in terms of home games, road games, home stands, longest stretches on the road, those kind of things. I want to talk about that and make that structure and how I think it could be advantageous for the Hornets going forwards. Now, they have an even split of home and away games, 40 and 40. There's still two that are kind of to be determined out there floating around on the schedule. So just 80 home and away games have been listed, 40 on the road, 40 at home. That's an even split. But what I do think is not necessarily in the Hornets' favor is that they are one of 5 teams in the NBA scheduled for 16 back-to-backs this season. That is the most in the league. The fewest scheduled is 13. There's 3 teams that have that, but the Hornets at the top of the NBA, I guess, in something, it is 16 total back-to-backs. That, when you hear that, that sounds like a lot. We don't love it knowing the injury history coming from LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, all of those guys. They're going to need Charles Lee's going to be going to need to pay very close attention to that and see how and how he manages the minutes and the time given to those guys in those back-to-backs. But with the rest of this team being so young, that might not be that big of a deal. It does allow for them to come in early in their careers and really understand what it takes to play in a back-to-back in the NBA, the rigor of a back-to-back in the NBA schedule. And now they get 16 chances to do so. That will be interesting to watch. I think, again, I don't love the Hornets getting 16 back-to-backs, but I think with the young team, with the young core, if everyone can stay healthy, it's not going to be a massive fatigue issue. It's going to just be kind of a real learning experience, a chance for these young guys to grow even further in their NBA careers and with what they have to offer experience-wise, gain some of that going forwards. 16 back-to-backs, that's a lot of back-to-backs, but it is really a nice learning experience to be like, oh, this is what the NBA really is all about for some of these rookies. Now, the Hornets do have 2 homestands of 4 games or more in a row at home. Once in February, and then they play 7 straight, the longest homestand of the season, 7 straight home games in March. The longest road trip for the Hornets is only 5 games. They take that in early January, so they'll kind of get their long road trip out of the way middle-ish of the season. Get that out of the way, don't have to worry about that. And again, it's just 5 games away from home. That is not crazy. Realistically, if you ask me, that's manageable. That's certainly something that the Hornets can do. January, as we speak about that, will be the busiest month for the Hornets. They have 17 games to start the new year. 4 of their 16 back-to-backs do come in January. That's going to be a big month. Going to be very important for Charles Lee to manage his rotations, to manage the minutes. Keep an eye on guys because January is going to be very important, not only for the 17 games and the 4 back-to-backs that come in January, but going forwards into February and March. If the Hornets can have a strong January, can look good in those 17 games, can play well, get some wins, they can again continue to springboard themselves into a playoff position or even a playoff run at going forward from that. If they can be above 500 in that month, cap it off with a good showing on national TV against Wemby. That is one of their nationally televised games, January 31st. If they can cap that month off with a good showing on national TV, they could put themselves on the radar, get some buzz about the team, and really show the national media, the national audience that they're relatively serious, that they're a competitor in the East and could put themselves in playoff position going forward. This month of January is going to be huge. I think it is the biggest month on the calendar that I have seen so far. Speaking of the calendar, speaking of some of the big games, we're going to wrap today's show up, as I told you, with some of the most exciting matchups that we have seen just within the first day of having the schedule. I hinted at 2 of them in the beginning of the show. the opening night game against Brooklyn Net, and then Khan versus VJ in Game 2 out in Philadelphia. Those two should be very exciting. The Hornets will get a real test early in the season as they start the month of November with Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves coming to town. That will bring a home. The month of November, also brings a home and home against the Milwaukee Bucks. That'll be played in consecutive games, one of which will be an NBA Cup game. The second game versus the Bucks leads into a back-to-back with Oklahoma City. So the Hornets go November 14th, Milwaukee Bucks November 15th. Shea and company come to town. That'll be an exciting matchup to watch in Charlotte as the defending NBA champions come to Charlotte and see how they can fare, how the Hornets match up against them. That'll be a good test early on in the season again. Steph and company will ring in the new year in Steph's hometown as the Warriors will play come to town to play the Hornets at home on New Year's Eve. So that'll be an exciting game. Steph be in town for the holiday. Be interesting matchup to watch there on New Year's Eve. Another one that jumps off the screen at me. Now, we know that Moussa Diabate is not going to get his chance at some of the best bigs in the world in Eurobasket 25 this summer, but he still gets his opportunity to match up against the Joker, see how he's going to fare in that matchup, but not just the Joker this time. It'll be the rest of the Denver Nuggets as the Hornets travel in January to play against the Denver Nuggets, which will also be part of a back-to-back. That's going to be fun to watch as well, see where Moussa stands against the upper echelon of big men, and I know he was hoping for a chance to show us that this summer in Eurobasket, so now he can make up for that, if you will, with a trip out to Denver in January. I'm also looking at the Hornets possibly riding a 3-game win streak going into the All-Star break. They've got 2 games with Atlanta, and Detroit is going to be sandwiched in between those 2 games, or will be their last 3 leading into the All-Star break. That could be some favorable matchups that have the team trending upward if they can another chance to continue to springboard again. So there's really, I've seen 3 chances to springboard themselves into playoff position in the right direction, into contention here in the Eastern Conference coming in this season. The potential 3-game winning streak going into the All-Star break could absolutely do wonders for this team going forwards, coming out of the All-Star break as they make that one final playoff push, one final shot at whether it be a play-in or an overall playoff seed. The Hornets could really propel themselves forwards with a good 3-game stretch going into the All-Star break. Now, March brings some road trips. March brings some road trips, a 4-game road trip, but also that's where we get our 7-game homestand that I was talking about. The Hornets have 7 straight games in Charlotte during the month of March. So if they can come out of that All-Star break, go into the All-Star break with the 3-game wins, with winning 2 of the 3, whatever, looking good, trending upwards going into the All-Star break, come out of that moving forwards as well. They get a good shot in March to build some momentum with 7 straight games in front of the home fans. All of those will be very exciting as well. Now, the Hornets, they play the Celtics 3 times in March and April. We know the Celtics not going to be the same Celtics that they were the last couple years. No Jason Tatum, but it's still going to be an exciting matchup. They still are. When you hear the name, when you think about the Boston Celtics, they're still one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. And if the Hornets can have the opportunity to look good, maybe even take some victories over them in a 3-game stretch in March and April going into the end of the season, that again could propel them in the right direction, give them some momentum towards a playoff push. The Hornets, Charlotte finishes up the season with a game in Madison Square Garden. Their final game of the regular season comes against the Knicks in New York. Not sure how much this game will quote-unquote matter in terms of playoff positioning, in terms of seeding, what the records are going to be. But if things do go as planned and the Hornets are sitting in a potential play-in or even playoff spot in this game against the Knicks, it could very easily be a potential playoff preview, may take a series win or something like that out of the Hornets, but it could be a playoff preview and give the Hornets a measuring stick for what it's going to take to be successful in the playoffs. Now, obviously, the Knicks fell just a little bit short of the finals run, but they had some success. They looked good. They know the Hornets can take away from that game if they are if they are moving in the right direction or not, going up against the New York Knicks, as again they potentially head into a playoff run, maybe a play-in tournament, whatever that may be. I think that last game closing the season out in Madison Square Garden is going to be a good litmus test, give the Hornets kind of a watermark for where they stand against what is going to probably be a playoff team and a high-seeded one in the East at that. Also finish up the season showing Chris Gent a little bit about the development throughout the entire regular season for the Hornets, kind of showing him what he left behind out in to make his trip up to New York. That'll add just a little bit of flair, just a little bit of excitement to that final game as well. Now, folks, we have no idea. Let's remember, we have no idea how all this is going to pan out, but it is nice to sit here looking at the schedule and feel optimistic about what the Hornets have going for them this season. Again, I've said it several times. I've reached that scary level of optimism where I feel a little bit uneasy down in my belly going forwards about this regular season, but I'm okay with that now. I've accepted it. The optimism is here. There's nothing I can do to fight it. The schedule only increased that, to be honest. There are a lot of favorable matchups on this schedule. Charlotte can take advantage of those. This could be a very fun season. We could see the Hornets in that playoff play-in tournament we've talked about, even in a regular playoff seed where they avoid the playoff tournament. This schedule, the roster that the Hornets have, the moves that have been made this offseason have really set things up to be an exciting year going forward as the Hornets can get themselves out of the basement of the Eastern Conference. They can move up middle of the pack, playoff level team here in what's going to be a depleted Eastern Conference, but the Hornets have to take advantage of that. And I think with the schedule that we have now seen, there are chances to do that, and I feel even better about a potential play-in tournament or playoff appearance for the Charlotte Hornets going forwards this season. Again, we have no idea how it's going to pan out. We've got 2 months before the regular season even begins, but it is nice to have some excitement, to have some buzz, to know about the schedule going into. We can take it into our weekend and just sit on and be excited about it. Speaking of the weekend, folks, that's going to do it for today's show. Hope everybody has a safe weekend out there. Enjoy these last few weekends of summertime before school kicks back up, and now just 2 months, just a little over 2 months away from the regular season kicking off. Very exciting times here. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you right back here on Monday for another episode of Hornets Daily.